Hello and welcome to one of my DIY videos. In this video I'm going to be fitting the genuine Dometic fridge ventilator kit to a friend's 2019 Bailey Phoenix Caravan. Well, it's midsummer 2023 and it's quite warm out there. In fact, parts of the country it's hot. Well, those of you who follow my channel will know that I fitted a genuine Thetford fridge ventilator kit to our Bailey Olympus Caravan a while ago. Well, last summer, 2022, hottest summer on record, we were away at Sutton-on-Sea Caravan and Motorhome club site and the ventilator fan came on and I took a video clip of it and included it in the Sutton-on-Sea holiday video. Well, what I'll do, I'll show you a clip of that now. It was only yesterday I noticed, when I opened the fridge, I noticed a noise and I thought, oh, I wonder if that's the fridge vent running. So I went outside and it was. So it's obviously because the fridge side of the caravan is facing the direct sunlight. I took a couple of video clips and I'll show you them now. You can hardly hear it now, but if I open the fridge, you might be able to hear it there. And I've got it on cooling level 3. There. You just about hear that running. Let's have a look. Yeah, the fan's running, look. Let's have another look. The fan stopped running. So this means the ventilator has sufficiently reduced the temperature of the refrigerant, so the thermo switch has switched the ventilator off. So when the refrigerant temperature rises again, the thermo switch will switch the ventilator back on. So even in these extreme heat conditions, it just shows you a fan doesn't need to run continuously. The ventilator is activated by what's called a thermo switch, and that's clamped around one of the refrigeration tubes at the back of the fridge. And when the tube reaches 55 degrees Celsius, it closes a contact inside the switch and sends power to the fan. And then when the tube drops below 55 degrees Celsius, it opens the contact in the switch and cuts power off to the fan. I'll show you the box. That's the back. And model numbers on the side. I bought the kit from leisurespares.co.uk and I thought it were quite expensive for what you get, and it was £130. Compare that to the Thetford kit I bought around 3 years ago. That was about £45, which I thought were quite reasonable. Now I've purchased some extra bits here, a bit of extra wire, an inline fuse, a bunny clip to hold the fuse in place, some wire clips and some other bits and bobs. What I don't use, I can keep them in my toolbox. Now there's a reason why I've had to buy the inline fuse, and that'll become clear in a moment. What I'll do now is open up the kit and we'll see what we've got. Fitting instructions. A back plate with self-adhesive strip. Thermo switch. Wiring. More wiring. The fixing screws. One there and one that side. And the fan with its bracket. It's even got Dometic wrote on it. And that's it. On the fitting instructions you'll notice lots of fridge model numbers, and the letter X represents any number. There are two wiring diagrams depending on what fridge model you're fitting it to. Well, I'm fitting it to RML 9330, so I've got to use this wiring diagram using wiring number 6, which is this. These fridge models have a 12 volt DC outlet socket on the circuit board, where you would use wiring number 5, which is this one. So they're the parts I'll be using, and that's wiring number 5, which I can't use on this model because this is for plugging into the dedicated socket on the circuit board. On my diagram it shows an inline 2 amp fuse. That's why I've had to buy a separate fuse and some extra wiring. Number 7 is the ventilator, and number 3 is the wiring from the ventilator. So that's 7 and that's 3. Number 6 is the wiring I'll be using, and number 2 is the thermo switch. That's number 6 and that's number 2. The fitting of the ventilator and thermo switch also depends on the fridge model. Well, this diagram refers to these 8 series fridges, so it's not this one. This one refers to 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 series fridges, so it's not this one. This one refers to these 8 series fridges, so it's not this one. Well, this one refers to 8 series fridges plus a 9 series. So this will be the one I'm fitting to, RML 9330. Well, the ventilator fits here, but the back plate, number 4, is only for this 8 series fridge, so I won't need it. And the thermo switch fits on this refrigeration tube at the top of the fridge. To give you an idea of the layout, here's the ventilator with the screws to fix the bracket to the back of the fridge. The red wire going to the thermo switch. This red wire is the number 6 on the diagram, going to the inline fuse that I've had to purchase, and the extra wiring that I've also had to purchase to go to the 12 volt power source. And then here's the negative black wire from the ventilator to the negative side of the power source. So, what I dislike about the Dometic kit is it doesn't come with an inline fuse or wiring clips. What I do like about it is some of their models come with a dedicated connection point on the circuit board at the back of the fridge where you can use the dedicated supplied connection wire. Now with the Thetford, this is the empty box from the kit I fitted on my fridge. What I like about it is it comes with inline fuse and wiring clips and everything you need. What I dislike about the Thetford is none of their fridges come with a dedicated connection point on the back of the fridge. Well, if they did, it would make life a lot easier. Right, I'm going to pack everything away, get up to the Caravan and get it fitted. A word of advice, it does say the electrical installation may only be performed by an authorised specialist, and to disconnect the 12 volt supply before installation. This is it, the Caravan I'll be working on, and to get to the back of the fridge I'll be taking these 2 vents off. This is the fridge, it's model RML 9330. So to take the grills off, just push up on these clips. I'll be taking power from that block connector there, and as you can see my tester's showing DC power, and the label actually says 12 volt DC lighting. That block connector is fed by this 20 amp fuse, and that's labelled van battery. So I'm going to pull that out to cut the power. That's now dead. 230 volt mains power is not connected, the gas is turned off and the 12 volt master switch is turned off. On the side of the fan there are two arrows. The vertical arrow is the airflow, so that needs to be pointing up. So I've got my fitting instructions here. This is the diagram I'm working to, and the fan needs to be fitted in that position, which is there. So I'm going to have to snip off this cable tie to get access to the back panel. There are pre-drilled holes for the fan bracket there, and the other one there, but it's just behind that tube, so I might have to move the bracket slightly. I'm gonna have to say, this is so awkward. I wish I'd got £1 for every time I drop the screw. I've had to put blue tack on the end of the screw to hold it onto the screwdriver, and it's still dropped off about 20 times. That's that one on. I'm going to struggle with this one. So I've got blue tack on the end of the screw to hold it onto the screwdriver. Whew, that's done it. It's so awkward. I'll tighten this one up if we can get to it. Right, that's that screw tight. I've had to bend the screwdriver to get in there. So the fan's now fixed in place. Very awkward. The next thing to do is to fit the thermo switch, which clips onto this top tube here. That's this point. The red wire on the fan that goes to the thermo switch is too short. You would have thought, with it being the genuine kit, everything would be just right, spot on, but it's not. Even wire number 6 on the diagram isn't long enough to go from the thermo switch to the power source. So I'm going to have to extend this as well as the red wire from the fan. I'm going to put some cable clips along this top board and down this side board to keep them away from this hot condenser. So I'm going to wipe the board just to get a bit of the dust off it, and then the self-adhesive cable clips will stick better. There are the cable clips in place. Just going to use my ratchet crimping tool. That's for extending the fan wire. So that's the thermo switch wired up. I couldn't take the thermo switch wiring across to the side panel, down, and then across because of the gas burner flue. If that was in use, it might melt the wiring. So the only option was to take it up across the top panel and then down the left-hand side panel. And there's the terminal connection for the fan extension wiring. And then that drops down to the inline fuse and connection point. I'm wiring up the inline fuse. I've got to get a tiny screwdriver to fit that screw there. I'm putting a ferrule on the end of this wire where it connects to the terminal block. Now I've got to thread it through this part of the fuse holder. So thread this over the wire. Pull that back in. Drop the spring in. Then the 2 amp cartridge fuse. And then screw them together. It's got an O-ring there, so it's watertight. And these rubber grommets make it watertight also. This black wire, it's already got a ferrule on the end of it. So I'm going to put another wiring clip here. Just make sure the board's clean. That goes there. That keeps the wiring away from the fan. The reason I've made this a bit longer is because if the fuse needs to be changed, you just unclip it and you can easily pull it out of the Caravan to change the fuse. That's the fuse fixed in place with the bunny clip. I use this existing clip to bundle the excess wiring up together. I'm going to put another clip here. To take the wires to the back of the fridge where it runs to the terminal block. It's tight getting in here, so I'm just using these snipe nose pliers to put this cable tie on. Put another clip here on the back of the fridge. I'm going to connect the ground wire. Now I'll connect the positive side. That's got it. So I just need to tidy this wiring up. The wiring comes from above there. There's the inline fuse with the excess wiring in case the fuse holder needs to be taken out. Excess ground wire bundled up there on that clip. And there's the connection point. So the ventilator blows extra air up through the coils and out of the top vent. What I'm going to do now is bypass the thermo switch with this fuse, put the main fuse back in and see if the fan comes on. Yeah, the fan works. I'm going to take the link out and wire the thermo switch back up. All I need to do now is put the grills back on. Oh, not to forget to take off the fitting instructions. So, right hand side on first, clip down, clip down. Right hand side first, clip down. Job done. Just got to wait for a really hot day to activate the thermo switch, which will activate the ventilator fan. So the conclusion, well, fitting the fan, very difficult job. That's because the fixing holes were in an awkward position. And as you saw in the video, the right hand one was behind the refrigeration pipe, so I had to introduce a new hole. And I used a long thin screwdriver with blue tack on the end to hold the screw on the end of the screwdriver. And the screw kept dropping off, I don't know how many times. I have got one of them screwdrivers with a claw on the end that holds the screw on the end of the screwdriver, but that was too big to get into the tiny hole I had. So what was, or should have been, a 10-minute job took around 2 hours. The wiring was too short, so I had to extend that. But I did it in the end, and I enjoyed doing it. Well, that was a 9 series fridge. Well, some fridges, depending on the model, the ventilator goes directly under the condenser unit. Looking at that, there are no obstacles or obstructions, so that might be easier to fit. Another thing to bear in mind, Series 10 fridges, they have a different ventilator kit, which means it's a different part number. Now that's because all Series 10 fridges have dedicated connection points on the circuit board at the back of the fridge for 1 and sometimes 2 fans depending on the 10 series model. And also the other thing to bear in mind is all 10 series fridge kits don't come with a thermo switch. They come with a temperature probe that also plugs into the circuit board at the back of the fridge. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting and informative, and thank you for watching, and hope to see you on the next video. Bye for now.